Salutations friends, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a fragrance first impressions of Perfect from Marc Jacobs. Now if you'd like to know what I think about this fragrance, well, to know my first impressions, then keep watching. Now I previously filmed this video like 15 minutes ago, and I found that the entire video was me just bashing I'm gonna say Tom Ford, Marc Jacobs. And that's not what I wanted this video to be. And to be perfectly honest, that's not what it should be. It's a first impressions video. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to do the first impressions, and then at the end of this video, I'm gonna kind of regroup and talk to you guys about what I was going on crazy tangents with when I first filmed this video. That being said, obviously, this is not a first impressions because I've already smelled it like 20 minutes ago. I will be sipping from this cat cup. It is filled with water. I have had a coughing fit today. That's why my original video plan for today is not coming up. I had audio issues, couldn't refilm it because I was coughing, so this seemed easy. So, Marc Jacobs Perfect. Let's get into the scent. This fragrance right here has some really interesting notes that caught my attention, specifically the rhubarb and the almond milk. There's also daffodil in here and woods as well. So I would describe this as a very kind of like feminine aromatic scent that's floral and tart and sweet and milky, but still like very light and just like dazzling on the skin. And that's very, very common for Marc Jacobs fragrances. I would say that is a signature for them, just kind of like Chloe has their signature, Dior has their signature. Marc Jacobs are just not fussy, really youthful, playful, flirty scents. Now Perfect in the opening, right here, it's been on my skin for too long, it's way past the opening, opens up very not harsh, but not nearly what it is in the dry down. And when I was filming my first impressions, I was unimpressed, very unimpressed. I thought it smelled overtly musky, but not like in a nice musk way, in that fragrance that you might buy at the dollar store kind of musky way. Like it was harsh, very harsh in the opening, very soapy in the opening, but not in like a beautiful way, again, like a shower gel you'd buy at the dollar store. And there's nothing wrong with buying shower gels at the dollar store. I buy shower gels at the dollar store. But if you're spending like over $100 or $100 on a bottle of perfume, you want it to smell like a nice high-end soap. Maybe one that you would buy from Target, not the dollar store. So I knew that it was going to not smell that way, but the opening was on the harsh side. So it took about 45 minutes for it to dry down on my skin. That's it right here, and it's nice. So what I like about this fragrance, first and foremost, is it doesn't smell exactly, I keep pushing this, there we go. It doesn't smell exactly like Marc Jacobs' other fragrances, but there is a cohesion. I can see where it fits in with the rest of his scents, which is really nice and something that I do look for when it comes down to designer fragrances. I want to see a cohesion. It doesn't have to be the same, but it has to be reminiscent, just personally, my personal preference. I like Chanel fragrances to smell like Chanel. I like Chloe's fragrances to smell like Chloe. I like Gucci fragrances to smell like Gucci. And I would prefer Marc Jacobs fragrances to smell like Marc Jacobs. And it does a good job. The nice thing about this is very light and soft and milky on the skin, but not lactonic. The almond in here isn't a sweet marzipan almond, and it's not like an almond wood. It's not really woody. Again, it's an almond milk. It's light. It's just very delicate on the skin. I do wish the rhubarb was tartar. It isn't very tart. It's more fruity and juicy, which for me, there are other fruits and juices and notes that I think probably would have been a better choice than rhubarb. I was actually excited for like a tart kick in the opening with this scent, and it wasn't there, but that's fine. The florals in this are really nice, and the woods in this are really nice too. They kind of soften and make everything just like really nice and feminine and flirty. It is a really, really pretty scent, a great daytime scent. I think this would be a beautiful summertime and springtime, anytime, morning or night fragrance. I don't know if it would really stand the test of times in regards to longevity or smell good in fall and winter, depending on where you live, but for a summertime and springtime scent, I think this smells really nice. Do I find it particularly complicated? No, I don't expect complicated fragrances from Marc Jacobs when it comes to their kind of more standard designer line. If I want complicated designer scents, I'll look to Chanel. Does it smell overtly flirty? Does it smell overtly youthful? Is there an extra sparkle to this? Extra something special? No. I would expect that from Chloe, and Chloe has done that every time. So this one, not so much. Does it have the Dior magic? Does it have the Gucci magic? No. It has the Marc Jacobs magic. And I am not really that excited about Marc Jacobs scents. As a first impression, removing my bias from not really liking the direction that Marc Jacobs fragrances have been and where they're going, I have to say that this fragrance will probably be a pass for me, or if I find a really good deal on it, I could probably pick it up as a grab and go scent to wear like around the house, or if I'm like running errands or things like that. It definitely smells nice. And the balance between fruity and almond and woody is really nice too. It definitely is softer than Marc Jacobs' other fragrances. It's not as abrasively sparkly and floral and in your face. There is a softness and sophistication to this fragrance that I think will make it a little bit better for people like in their 30s and 40s and 50s, rather than some of Marc Jacobs scents, which just smell like they were designed to be marketed for people like late teens and early 20s. Now, fragrance is genderless and fragrance is ageless, so you can wear whatever you want whenever you want, but it just smells like a fragrance that would be, you know, maybe marketed to somebody late 20s, early 30s, and not the other scents that Marc Jacobs does, which is a little bit younger. As I drop my water. Overall, it's a beautiful scent. It's a safe scent. It's an easy scent to wear. I think that you could blind buy this and not be disappointed in wearing something that smells crazy or out of place. It really is a nice, very beautiful, safe fragrance. I say safe and not crowd pleasing. We will get into that in a few minutes, but at the end of the day, it's a nice scent. I really can't say anything's bad with it because it's nice, but it's not my cup of tea personally. So I don't know if I would pick it up, but if you like Marc Jacobs fragrances, if you like youthful, sparkly scents, it's nice because that little bit of rhubarb in there and that little bit of almond milk does make it different and special and stands out amongst Marc Jacobs' other fragrances. So that is my first impressions of Perfect from Marc Jacobs. But let's talk about Marc Jacobs, shall we? Anyway, Marc Jacobs. So the last video was quite literally 25 minutes of me blasting Marc Jacobs. So the first thing I want to say is I do not hate Marc Jacobs fragrances or Marc Jacobs in general. Their beauty items, their makeup items are some of my favorites. I really like the direction they go with their makeup. They make quality makeup that stands out, that takes risks, but is still easy to wear and utilize as somebody who's not very good at doing their makeup. I do really like their stuff. But Perfect from Marc Jacobs, I find to be the best out of a lackluster lineup in my personal opinion. Now, I don't mind designer fragrances. I really like designer fragrances. And I know I talk about wanting to smell really challenging, really avant-garde, different, special, bizarre, all those notes, all those things. But I also really like to smell nice. I like to smell complimentary. I like to smell pretty. I like to smell feminine and soft and sometimes sweet and soapy and clean and refreshing and uplifting. And there are so many great brands out there that can do that within their lineup. Chloe is a great example. Gucci is a great example. I think also I would say in some regards Dolce & Gabbana. But what I don't like about Marc Jacobs is that although their fashion is somewhat fashion forward and their makeup and their beauty does take risks, their fragrances don't. And it's not that you have to take crazy risks with your fragrances, but you have to take a little risk, you know? And I don't feel that in their fragrances. I don't feel inspired by their scents. I don't. And I think that's the problem. I think the only fragrance recently, if I thought about within like the last maybe 10 years, I don't even know if it's that long or longer, who knows, that came out from Marc Jacobs that really was different and set itself apart was Decadence. Decadence was a beautiful, syrupy, very sexy rose scent. It was gorgeous, and it was different than what Marc Jacobs has done. And I think aside from the packaging, which was not really my taste, but still really cool for a lot of people, Marc Jacobs' presentation might not be my thing, but they definitely take more risks in their presentation than their fragrance. Everything else that came out from Marc Jacobs afterwards was just another uninspired daisy flanker. And I like flankers. I love flankers. Even flankers that smell almost identical, but maybe it's like bergamot instead of orange, or maybe it's sandalwood instead of cedarwood. I'll be like, yes, I can smell the difference, you know? But Marc Jacobs, just every scent I smell, I'm uninspired. I'm even uninspired to just wear it to go to the grocery store. Like, I have travel atomizers, I have samples, I have the opportunity. When I worked at Ulta, I could wear whatever scent there I wanted any day. And I was encouraged not to wear the scents that we didn't sell. I was encouraged to wear the scents that we did sell. So I would go into work probably wearing Happy or Versace Dylan Blue, and then I would wear whatever was in the store that I wanted to wear when those fragrances wore away. It was usually Gucci Guilty Parfvms, or a lot of times I would wear the men's fragrances. But I never wanted to gravitate to the Marc Jacobs ones. I just never felt like, today I want to wear Marc Jacobs. It's like, it just didn't excite me, you know? And I know everybody has fragrance houses or fragrances out there that they feel that way about. Doesn't have to be an excitement. It can just be, I guess it's excitement. You just don't feel excited. And I feel that with Marc Jacobs. Everyone has those fragrances out there, fragrance bottles, fragrance brands, that it's not that you've overworn them and you're tired of them. You're tired of them before you've even worn them. And that's what I feel like with Marc Jacobs. So Marc Jacobs doesn't inspire me. Marc Jacobs doesn't make me excited to wear fragrances. And I don't know if Perfect is going to be one of those scents either. I'm not gonna buy it unless I can find it on sale, just because it's not something I'm particularly super excited about. It doesn't mean that it's a bad fragrance though. Let me just throw that out there. I'm being terribly biased with this video, but I'm not very open with my biases, except if it's a house that I have a real strong feelings for. And for some reason, I have way more feelings about Marc Jacobs as a fragrance house than I do for their actual fragrances, just in regards to being inspired to share them with you. I'm more inspired just to share my boredom with you guys than share how I feel about the fragrances. But that doesn't mean that they're not good fragrances. They're just not my taste. If you were looking to get a fragrance from the house that you wanted it to be beautiful and wearable, I think of all the fragrances I smelled from Marc Jacobs, minus Decadence, this is actually a really good one. So I don't think it's a bad fragrance, I just think it could be better. So that is my first impressions of Marc Jacobs. I'm so sorry, I kind of went on a tantrum at the end of this video, but I did want to let you guys know my thoughts on Marc Jacobs. But at the end of the day, it's not a bad scent. If you like light, semi-floral, semi-woody scents, it's nice. It's a great scent. It's a beautiful scent for somebody if you're just looking for a very easy scent to wear that's pretty and feminine and playful and flirty. I think Perfect would be just perfect. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I love seeing this channel grow. And if you've had any experience with Perfect or any other Marc Jacobs fragrances and you think I'm completely wrong or you think I'm completely right, let me know in the comment section below. I would love to have a further conversation about this. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.